album number 3, chapter 3, the In With the Old era.
Wow.
Which was originally going to be called In With the Old, Out With the New.
Right.
And I remembered this because I recently saw from Imagart the original version of the cover, and it had that full name on it.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, do you remember what it was going to be called before? The whole in and old thing?
No.
Killing it is our business,
yes.
and killing and business is good.
Yeah.
Yes. We were going to name it that because of Megadeth.
Yes.
Exactly.
Because Megadeth's first album is Killing Is My Business.
Yeah.
And business is good. So we were going to go Killing It Is Our Business.
Well, that was like the term in
Yes.
2004. How you doing? I'm killing it.
Absolutely killing it.
Exactly.
And it was
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
poignant back then. Guys, you have to realize that Giving It is named after an album that we love too.
Yes. Too short.
Two Shorts, Getting It.
Getting
it.
Yep. Uh-huh.
We
Yeah.
don't know what to do if we're not doing it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I don't know what's going to happen, but thank God we cut that name in half.
So this was before Conatown really caught steam. We were already moving on with our career
Right.
because Volcom had just hired someone from the major record industry called Mike Nobrega.
Yes.
So this is post Rudy?
Yes.
Okay, got you.
This is post Rudy.
Get naked, boys. Take these best sodas.
Yes, because when Volcom got the deal with MCA and Universal, they brought in this guy named Rudy at first that kind of came at the tail end of the Conatown chapter.
Major label vibes.
Yeah. And then he got, I don't know if he left or got replaced, whatever, and then enter Mike Nobrega. And I think with the little bit of whatever you want to call it, like headway that Conatown had made, I remember Mike Nobrega telling us, like, put together a list of producers that you guys would want to work with for your next album. And we'll see if we have connections to any of them. And through that list, we had Ron St. Germain on.
Which I believe Sally Knobs was the one who actively pursued him.
Okay.
Nice.
I think Sally was the one who was like constantly like reaching out.
Yeah.
Because Sally did so much.
Oh, full
Like,
pitbull.
yeah, exactly. And so it got to the point where it's like, Sally's like, we should go with this guy.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Our first
okay.
manager.
Our first.
and so passionate to this day.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Sam.
But I remember we were hyped up on Saint because of his work with the Blue album, 311.
Yep.
And
Tool.
and then
Yep.
he mixed Tool Undertow. He mixed Soundgarden, Bad
Motorfinger, which is that was the reason I was in.
Yep. And then he did the Bad Brain stuff.
Oh,
too.
yes, of course.
And he told a story about doing, was it with a quickness?
I think
Yes.
So yeah.
And he said, we only have a budget of whatever it was at the time, $5,000. He's like, I gave those boys the hottest record ever, and I threw them the change.
Yeah.
He's just.
That was a good saying.
Yeah.
Ron
That was a good one.
Saint-Germain is an entity, and he's
Legend.
He's just
Yeah.
the guy when says like it's not about the money, dude. It's not about the money.
Yeah.
He just happens to be so successful.
Yeah.
He's so passionate, and we learned what a difference between Steve Kravac, Conatown to
Ron Saint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And which was a major pivot in the right way for our career too, because that's when we first went to the Hive 311 studio.
Yes.
Because Saint had done obviously the Blue album and also From Chaos with Amber and everything.
Yep.
With the 311 boys. So I remember when we linked up with them, he's like, I think I could talk to the 311 guys and they'll let us record at their studio.
And they did.
Yeah. And we were like,
we
holy.
were blown away.
Yeah, we were like, holy
blown
shit,
away
we're
by
going to go record at 311 Studio. This is amazing. And then we did the pre-production in Ann's garage in Vista, though.
Yep. And he
With
stayed
Saint.
with us.
Yes.
Because he flew his Cessna.
That's right, he
He
flew
flew
himself.
his Cessna into Carlsbad. We picked him up in Vanilla.
Yeah.
Right? And he stayed at Annie's house. And he just crashed on the couch.
Yeah.
Can we talk about this for a second?
Yeah, we are.
There's no producer that has. Yeah, exactly. Let's continue to talk about this for a second. No producer that I've ever met besides this man.
A successful producer is what you're saying.
Yeah,
Thank
multi-platinum
you.
producer.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Just is willing to get
Yeah.
into bed with the band,
Literally.
to get to know the
Like
band,
to sleep in our bed.
sleep in our bed,
Yep.
stay in our home, get picked up in our van,
Yep.
fly into our town,
Go to
wherever we are,
Baja Fresh every day.
go eat
Yep.
our food, our
Yep.
restaurant, and then bring us to his stomping ground, to the studio, because he had great success in the Hive.
Oh my God, the Blue album?
The Blue album,
Yeah,
like
that
I
was
said. part of why Pepper's
Right.
here. So
and then
like,
all the albums before, right?
and all before and after, and he wow, I forgot that he was
Yeah.
remember he wanted us to fly with him, and I was like, no.
Ramey did.
And Ramey flew up with him.
Well,
Poor Ramey. Took
yeah,
me
because
15.
once we did pre-production, and by the way, let's talk about this real quick on this album.
Yeah.
In the garage of Annie's house.
Yep.
Yep.
By the way, Annie is our Cali mom. Without her, this
Yeah.
band would be dead.
Yes. Yeah.
Starving.
Yes.
you, Annie.
Yeah. And so he would sit down with us as we played in the garage, a multitude of songs. And he had like a list, and he would just, like he'd look at his little paper list of which songs were gonna go and which songs were gonna stay.
Yep.
And the songs that he wanted the most were the ones that went.
Yeah.
And then from there, from Vista, California, we went to Burbank.
Yes.
Is that correct?
I believe that's where it is.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's where the hive is, Burbank, and he flew up there. We drove Vanilla up
Yep.
with our equipment.
Yep.
And then that's when we just crushed it. And then we stayed at
John's.
John and Matt's house.
Yeah. Yeah.
See? And then we were couch surfing.
Yeah.
We were.
Yeah. And we would show up to the studio. We'd get to Tommy's number 7 burritos.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh my.
And we would show up there every morning with a breakfast burrito.
Yep.
And if you look back at the photos, it totally shows.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yes.
You're right. It is so funny. and then we would roll in, and Saint would be there. There'd be porn. Classy porn.
Yeah. Hey.
Blasting.
Tasteful.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, yeah. Andrew Blake.
Yes.
And like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it would be on mute. And it would just be like this. And by the way, I'm sorry, I take that back. It was erotic
Yeah.
cinematography.
Yeah, thanks.
It
Wasn't
wasn't
porno.
porn.
It
It
was
was
so
just
classy.
chicks being naked.
It was art.
In art. It was
Yes.
art films. And they would just be playing, and it was like, okay, I'm into this. And here's this beautiful studio that was owned by Foghat.
Oh yeah. Before 311.
Before
and had R. Kelly's board in it.
and R. Kelly's board, which we all know what happened on that board.
A lot happened on that board.
A lot. Is the one that barely fit in the SSL.
Yeah.
And so when we get there, it's time to take it from the garage to the studio.
Yep.
And he's got his list. These are the ones that we're gonna do. And now enter Click Track Part 2.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Here we go.
Which was still challenging, but nothing compared to Quebec.
Did you train on a goddamn click after?
No, I think we were just. I think we were
was-
just playing so much. We were getting
Yeah.
better no matter what.
Yeah.
How many shows you think we're doing a year at that point?
I would say 250.
Pretty much every day, man.
Yeah, I would say 250, 280.
How many days are near?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we were peaking.
But also too, the vision was from Saint especially. I want to put as much as we can on tape.
Yep. Yep.
It meant everything to him.
Yeah.
And for us, it's like, okay, we'll do it old school way.
Yeah.
But to me, I didn't really know.
No.
Yeah.
And like I couldn't really tell. I'm not like that.
Yeah.
Well, we know what albums he did, and we're like, we trust you.
Yes.
Yeah.
We
Exactly.
trust the shit out of
And
you.
I remember he's always prided himself on it being, when it was all said and done, on it being an album you could turn up as loud
Yes.
as you possibly could on any system, and it would never blow out the speakers.
And nothing would get too harsh.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was about powerful control.
Yeah.
The example he gave me on that was the Wailers album.
Burnin'?
Catch a Fire.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You can turn. He says you can turn this up to 15.
Yeah.
remember
And everything sounds
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
And like that.
Everything
Yeah.
has its place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
guys, please, liability wise, we're not telling you to do that with the albums if it blows it out. But we were able to do that to this day. So,
Yeah.
at your own risk.
Right.
Yeah.
And then so his first song that he wanted to get down was Back Home.
Okay.
Yep.
Is that the first one we recorded?
First one we recorded.
Nice.
Back Home.
See, these memories are cool to come
Yeah.
out because I could see him being very like, we're gonna attack it like we stack it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we're gonna, instead of like, let's record whatever we can, what's easiest.
Yep.
Yeah,
Or some
yeah.
people take the hardest stuff first.
Yep.
Whatever, but that's kind of cool. He always wanted to tell a story in the music, and that's something I remember learning about him. His intention behind everything.
Right,
Remember he
right,
would
right.
just dance in the studio.
Oh yeah, his dance was so
Best
signature.
dance.
Yeah.
It was a composing dance.
Yeah. So we get back home.
So we get back home and like it's going tremendously well. It's
Yeah.
like the studio vibe's good. We're showing
Yep.
up. Yep, we're doing good.
And on top of it, we have some of the boys from 311 showing up at the studio
Yes.
and all like they're like, and they were peaking right then.
Yeah,
'Cause, like
yeah.
Amber was huge.
Jesus.
So like watching these guys that we grew up listening to just randomly drop in and say hi
In their
was so
laboratory.
mind blowing to me.
Huge.
in its own right. So
Oh.
I'd be like, oh my God, Chad Sexton just showed up. Like, are you kidding me?
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And all his equipment's everywhere.
Yeah.
No, you're exactly right. These guys are, hey, didn't I just see you on TV, Nick? And
Yeah.
he's like, yeah, of course. But they're stoked that you're there.
Yeah.
Such a good vibe from those guys.
And so open with their instruments,
Yeah.
their equipment.
Did you
like,
try this amp?
yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Like, hey,
Tim?
try this guitar. Like, I remember that was the first time I played a 1982 Tobacco Burst Les Paul.
Yeah, that one's
And then
all over that one.
remember they
though.
had all the gear upstairs.
All the gears.
That and they were so cool that right. They were like, go.
Well, I haven't
check
even
out.
seen that in years.
Yeah.
No, you're so right.
Yeah.
They're so cool.
Going back to back home, I remember being blown away too about like all these new Sonics.
Yes.
That we didn't have access to because this is 311 studio. You know what I'm saying? This is their home, and they're not just the guys that like, oh, we have a studio to have a studio. They created a lot of our favorite music there, including that Blue album. And I was tripping out, going, am I hearing that in our music or not? And of course, I did in an exact way because it's whatever, it's our equipment. But the vibe that we felt from them and them doing what every band wants to do is just write great music, get a killer following, connect with your fans, and go. And they were doing it. And now we're in their house recording. Yeah, that was a good feeling to do that. Play at their ballpark, you know.
Yeah. And so like back home, that one just all felt good to us because again, just realized it's kind of like on that like anchor tip of Conatown.
Yeah.
Right.
Where we're just like, now we're in LA, and let's talk about the artwork real quick, right? Because after Ben's hearing this, so Ben's hearing like the tracks and he's listening to back. I was like, okay, well, you guys were a fish out of water.
Yep.
But now you are emerging as something else.
Yes.
You are a different version of you with these songs.
Right.
And it's almost kind of like you've had to strip everything off of you in order to arrive to the next place for you to do whatever is going to be next. And that was an incredible association with, again, Ben just listening to our music and putting it together sweetly.
And it was where the Skulknuts were born.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was the first time.
Yeah.
Strip it down to the bone, and what's under there? It's coconut.
Yeah. And seeing because on the palm trees on each side of the cover,
Yeah.
there's the Skulknuts.
Oh,
And the
man.
color
They were-
choices, it's minimalistic color, right?
Yeah.
Blue, red,
a
black,
little bit, right?
white.
Very,
Yeah.
very, like you said, and he's coming out of the water.
Stripped.
But we were also, after Conatown, doing so much of our old and kind of for achieving what we wanted to with this sound and feeling good about it. How many years was it between Conatown and now we're recording this one?
A year.
1 year.
Yeah.
And 250
Yeah.
shows.
It's a year. Yeah. In 250.
Yeah.
Because that program was go on the road, come back, record 3 weeks, go back on the road.
Yeah.
Like it's really what we had.
and how the music was changing. And
Yeah,
growing.
and then because Conatown came out in March of 2002, I think. So then 2003 we were recording in with the old, and then it came out in 2004.
Yeah. And and then to go back home, and that guitar, I remember some guitars, maybe because it was their guitars, we borrowed a guitar, may have stolen a guitar, I don't know what it was, but we had this like really like, I don't know how to say it, like it was a new sound and all these new color choices, taste, sound choices, and it was like, that was right on with Back Home. And also, like you could relate Back Home, maybe a generation or two, it feels like, skip between like Dry Spell or something like that. Like it's still connected, but it was different.
Yeah.
Well, when you listen to, like you're saying, when you listen to the back home guitars, it's now layering and phasing, which is what was happening.
And we weren't doing that before.
No,
We
no.
didn't have a say really as much, right?
Right.
Before.
And also we had like more like, I would say freedom because the studio was ours versus West Beach. Where
Right.
we were kind of like really on the clock.
Yeah.
Right.
And there's other bands coming in right after us. Like we had a whole studio
At the Hive.
for 3 weeks.
Right.
Yeah, with the Hive
And we're the only recording artists there.
That was
Yeah.
bad.
So that's how we were able to like start to explore.
No
And then of
rush.
course Saint
Right.
was the one, hey, this is a great trick.
Yeah.
Try this with a 12 string.
Yeah.
Try, like and layer it and like tuck it and all these kind of things.
Yeah.
Right. And then, like, speaking of things getting a little different too, then you get to the next track, Are You Down?
Yep.
And that was like a direct product of being in the garage at Annie's with Saint, right?
Right.
And him picking out like, oh, that's definitely one that we need to. That's on my list.
Good
basically.
point. You touched on that earlier, but that's heavy because we didn't do that with Krivak.
No.
We didn't audition songs or get his opinion. But Saint was with us the whole time he signed on from that show. He came to meet us and vibe out with him.
Yeah.
And he was
At the
living with it.
Troubadour.
Hey, exactly, with the Troubadour. But that's interesting that he picked that. And there's a darker music over. There's a darker tinge. I don't want to just like look at the photo the artwork and be like,
Yeah.
But there's a darker. That was a fun thing to me at the time. Remember, is like this guy helped create some of the best music that I've ever heard in grunge and stuff, and that kind of started, I think, flowing through. Like, I want that too.
Yeah.
I think I want that.
And then having Ronnie King back too.
Exactly. For Are You Down?
Old for like
Yeah.
Are You Down?
Yeah, with
exactly.
that West Coast sound.
And he would bring those new. Like, it's not like he had a same bag of tricks. He had whatever new was going on, and of course Saint was like, "Oh, real musician, this is great."
Yeah.
Now, even though "Are You Down" is like a rock song, the hip hop feel is
It's got
immense.
it's
to
got-
me.
Well, especially because the verses, especially with the Ronnie King stuff in the verses,
Right.
it's
Yeah,
got that
right.
solid hip hop feel.
Right.
But then the chorus is such that like
Open.
soaring,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Soaring is a good one.
And well, and the setup to that too is those pre-choruses. He did. I think you said Flanders. So take those in. There's like a very like. There's a lot of dark tones
Yeah.
coming here. I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, especially on that one.
I
Like,
loved that
Yeah.
part of it. I
Yeah.
was enthralled with that. We love dark music anyway, as maybe people think, oh, party song or pepper. No, we love
it all.
Came from the ground.
Yeah, because also you could also see the almost like connection between like a 7 Weeks and a Are You Down?
There you
know
go.
what I mean?
You
Where
start
they
to see those, right?
Yeah, where they both kind of have a little bit of that darker kind of tinge to them,
Yeah.
like not in like a depressing way, but just a kind of just a little.
Well, same thing with the next track, Love Affair.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's another dark, lyrically darker.
Yeah.
And also, too, like the challenges of being gone forever.
Yeah.
And if you got a chick
Yeah.
or
Yeah,
you got
yeah.
a partner,
Yeah.
like you're gone forever.
Yeah.
It's just like, I got to do this for me.
Yeah.
I know that we're in this, but I got to do this for me or else I'm not going to be here for you in the right way.
Yeah.
And so like even that love affair like vibe where it's
You're
like
right.
if you got a problem with a lover, cry to someone who cares. Don't cry to me.
Yeah.
I have work to do. I got to do this. Like I don't have a 9 to 5. My job is grabbing the microphone and sway this way.
Yeah.
And all of that. It's another dark, lyrically dark.
Yeah.
And the tones as well. Do
Yeah.
do.
How old were we during this time? Because you're like
23?
okay. So
Yeah.
now I'm like back home,
23, 24.
celebrating
Ish.
being back home,
Right.
meaning you weren't home,
No.
but you went back.
Yeah.
You're a different person.
Well,
You're not-
back home is about Kona.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But you had to go back there because you don't live there anymore,
Exactly.
baby. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Your life is
You're
different.
back. Yeah, you're gone.
Which gets right into Are You Down, which is like, these are more mature, grown-ups. Are you down? I don't know. I've never been to Los Angeles. I've never been to this club. I don't know what's supposed to happen. I'm 20,
Right. Yeah.
We're still
You're
growing up
learning.
with these darker, sensual, definitely a lot of sex. Keep in mind, there was artistic something playing along the whole time.
Well,
Right.
yeah.
That's, we're kind of coming into our own, a young manhood, but in a different land. It's
Yeah,
kind of happening here. Are You Down?
exactly.
Love affair. Oh, and I'm not at home either.
Yeah.
So there's a
But
trend
you got
here.
like Are You Down, which is like we're in our 20s. This is the sexual revolution
And
of our
this is
lives.
sick, by the
Yeah.
way.
This
Right?
is like the sexual revolution of our lives.
Right.
You got, and then if you're in a relationship, then you're like even thinking, oh, okay, love affair.
manage it.
And then the next one, use me. Again, sexually just driven about being this age around other people this age that are just kind of figuring out their own sexuality at the same time.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a pattern here, guys. I know what's going on.
Well, this
is wild.
See, this is kind of nice to be able to talk about a cohesive album.
Have you ever thought about this though? This is never
I have.
occurred to
I'm
me.
going to be really honest.
Yeah.
Until we started talking about the albums,
Yeah.
I haven't computed this.
Yeah, me neither.
Straight up, like I have not computed all this, and it's just this universal like, whoa, slap in the face like a tortilla challenge.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, wow.
Is this an intervention? Ashton, are you?
Oh
What
my
the-
God.
But how fun to talk about that.
Right.
We just put together something that I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense.
So this is like a dark sexually charged. Like beginnings of the album, you know,
Yeah.
like the Are You Down, Love Affair, Use Me, and then perfect. We follow right into 7 Weeks.
Yeah.
And that is just an accurate description of how long a
There you
tour usually is.
Yeah.
You come back,
Yeah.
it's a week, and then you're out for another 7.
Like you said, started off with Love Affair, yep, and now you're gone.
And exactly. Now I'm gone for 7 weeks.
It's been wow.
Right.
It tells a hell of a story. This album.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like what you're talking about too, about all, like, there is the sexually charged parts of it. There is like the sentimental back home parts of it, but especially like most all the messages in here are pretty like low key though at the same time. You know what I mean? Like nothing so, like with Kona Town, we had Give It Up and Why Don't You Have Some Dirty Hot Sex With Me? It's way more obvious.
Very
you know
blunt.
What I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Where this we took the same kind of like themes, but they were just more. It was more just part of the fabric that we put forward. You know what I mean?
Right. And also saying them differently so they can mean more.
Yeah.
Than just have some dirty hot sex with me.
There you go.
Right.
Less on the nose.
Yeah.
Right.
And can be translated in many different ways.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ambiguous lyrics.
Yeah.
And our writing was changing and things too. That's
Well,
the other
yeah.
part is like, how did I know how we said that before, but how would you say something that's similar? But how would you say that? What do I want to say? What do I mean by that? What does it make me feel when I say that? You know, like
Yeah.
you're looking for a new way to voice these emotions, right?
Your new life.
Yeah.
And the whole new
But it's
segment.
fresh.
Yep.
It's right. We got to learn
Yeah.
on the fly, kind of in that way too.
And had we already been on the second Warped Tour in 2003 before or after we made this record?
This is released 2004.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say, for me, for some reason, I believe Saint came to see us on 03
Yeah.
as approval.
Right.
And we played live, and he came to
that
somewhere
was-
in New York.
No. Oh, but he came to the Troubadour as well.
He did. But I believe on Warped Tour.
Okay.
And this is going back to Sally Knobs.
Yeah.
She arranged it so he would come see us on Warped Tour
For his
And
final-
I'm thinking that it might be something like Randall's Island or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Where he was there, and he was just like, all right,
Yeah.
okay, I get it.
Yeah.
I can work with this.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
he was very constructive and very
Yeah.
cool, but he was also had his.
Well, he's
exactly
very
why
successful, right?
So
Exactly.
probably right after that Warped Tour is when we went into the studio with him.
Yes.
So like
Absolutely.
the fall, yeah. So like the
So
fall. of
Yet another
2003.
Warped Tour.
Yeah, exactly. So I believe like he came out to Annie's in October.
Yep.
And then we started going like, I mean, it was only a week of pre-production, you guys.
Yeah.
It was only that.
Yeah.
And then boom.
Well, we had written the songs. We jammed. We were jamming.
yeah.
We kind of just showcased it for him, right?
Yeah.
We were finally understanding, I think, like, you know, and all the sound checks and all the things that we're playing, like the only therapy that we have for the personal growth that we're independently going through
Yeah.
is writing.
Yeah.
And like, that's for me, at least that's what it was. I was just like, I need to figure some shit out. Like, where am I in life right now?
Yeah.
I'm on a program and I'm with us.
Yep.
So I know that, okay, this is the unit that left home, but we're all growing. And
Yeah.
I just need to like document this because in order for me to get my head and my mental health right, I actually got to start writing down these things so I can read them, process them, and figure out what am I feeling and why am I feeling this.
Right.
It's ended up being a great outlet for us.
Well, and which, like you're saying, like 7 weeks is a perfect example of that because
Sure,
it's such a direct story of shit that's going on with not only us as a band then, but any band in that.
And how as a young band, how do you keep your life together while you're pursuing your dreams?
And what's your life at the point?
And who are you?
Who are you?
That's the weird thing. Is you never, excuse me, at least not then, thinking about who you are in that moment. You're reacting to so much new.
Yep.
Like you said, you're just fucking filled with just spit and vinegar.
Yep,
And
exactly.
The world is opening up in ways you're like, Jesus Christ, this is incredible.
Yeah.
But you're not necessarily doing that. Maybe in songs we got to, thank God. Right?
Yeah.
Because in the meantime,
Well, when I listen to 7 weeks, it's like a perfect journal entry.
kind of is.
Yeah, totally.
And
You know what I mean?
me,
Like
don't
that
journal
just
as-
it just sounds like a poem.
Yeah.
That's a page out of your book. You're always so good at putting that stuff down. I'm more of like, what is happening? And then it just, squirts
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
7 weeks is just like an accurate description. Like, there's not one line in there that's not relatable for anyone who has to travel for
I
work,
guess not. Yeah.
or maybe even like the military, or anyone who has to go away. You know,
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Good. Yeah.
And then 7 weeks is so trippy too because it's almost like a kind of backward song where the verse is kind of like the hook,
yeah.
and the hook
Oh, yeah.
is a hook too.
No, what's up
but-
with that? I never
but
thought about
yeah,
that. It's like
but
an
it's
inverted.
Like, yeah, it's kind of inverted because usually, like, you think of a traditional hook, and it's the song's a lot of times named after
Yeah, exactly.
whatever the hook
You
is.
say the title.
Yeah, where the title of this song
It's
is
hip to be
actually
square.
in
Like
the,
"Send Me Your Love."
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah,
right,
why
right.
would that be?
Yeah, yeah.
Because that's
Right.
the chorus.
Chorus, right? Yeah,
but-
exactly.
But it's actually like the hook. The main hook lives in the verse, which
Exactly.
is always kind of interesting.
Yeah.
You know what I
That
mean?
is really weird.
Yeah.
Is it the verse or the pre-chorus?
The
Oh, good point.
no, because I think
he's
the,
right.
The
He's right.
pre-chorus is living in your 7 o'clock shadow.
Oh, yeah,
shit,
yeah.
You're right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, you're
that
right.
like,
Because it's been.
but it's not like the hook's not a hook. The
but
hook is still a hook.
Hey,
This is some cross dressing.
you got multiple. You got multiple hooks.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah,
fucking
yeah.
A.
You
But
win.
You're right. That is not
Right.
normal, and so I guess that's pretty different. You can't have that song unless we'd gone through Kona Town already, or trying new things.
Yeah.
There's no way that
Already
song
caught
would have
up.
been written unless
No.
we had lived that.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, also
100%.
that part too.
Yeah.
Oh, good, really good point.
And then moving on to Ashes.
Okay.
Is
Now-
next.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, this is where it gets real
And
wild
Ashes,
too.
I think musically is such obviously an homage to the Police.
Oh my god.
Straight.
With the So Lonely drum groove.
Oh,
Yep.
man,
and even the fact that it's kind of
And the bass following the kick.
yes, and
Yep.
the fact that it's got
Verbatim.
a reggae verse and a rock chorus.
Yeah.
Back
Just-
to dub rock.
Yeah, yeah. It
But
just like
for sure, the Police era, not
Yes.
no effects, not
No.
311,
No.
Sublime,
Yeah.
Pennywise. No, you're so right. You're
But
so right. Yeah.
one of
But
the
it's
most-
got that punk angst.
yeah,
right,
totally.
Ah, that's true. That's true. A little
Yeah.
more punky.
And one of the most debated things ever was how the Whoa Whoa Whoas got cut out of the studio version
You win some, you lose.
and just exists on the live version now, which who knows? Some could argue maybe it's better just to have the live version have its own. But going back to having more hooks,
There you go.
it doesn't seem like it should have got left off.
Hey,
but
you know what? Hey,
Hindsight's 2020.
hindsight is 2020, and you
But
know
for
what?
the record,
Yeah.
the Whoa Whoa
Thank you.
Whoas
Thank you.
did exist at that point, and they got left off of the record.
They were told to delete that. please leave. You could call it one of the most questionable calls in.
I would call it the worst shit call.
Yeah,
Actually, just to let you guys
okay.
know, like,
So
I'm gonna be
Ron Saint
super
Germain-
open with you guys.
Thank
That
you.
was the worst call of any producer of all time. I'll say that right to Saint's face.
I know.
It is the worst call, and especially when you think about it this way, it's an homage to the Police.
Yeah.
Now you got to think about like So Lonely. You got to think about all these songs that have
Yeah.
oh,
Yes.
Anything.
Yeah.
you know, like all of those like charging ones.
Yeah.
So lonely. So
Yeah.
lonely. It's just
No.
just a repeater line.
This is-
that's so acceptable and easy. Poncho Man
Yeah.
with
He
Ho Na
would've
Na
been
Na.
proud-
Yeah.
he
He would have been way more stoked
Like,
with
whoa.
whoa, whoa, whoa.
So you guys is moving on to woes. No, let's call it.
Not
spade
ready
a
for
spade.
Woes Bowl.
Ron Saint Germain. You know we love you. You know how much we learned from you. We're talking about now.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I liked it.
But
he
that was a horrible call.
confused. He was like, "What in God's name?" I'll tell you much though. Go back to Kona Town and Nur the Dawn.
Yeah.
Those whoa-woes, before I was inspired for that, had nothing to do with the Police. That entire song and how was so fun.
Yeah.
And, we met so many other people. We met killer musicians. We met Todd, who played drums for Marky
Yep,
Music
yep,
later.
yep.
Met Marky Dark from Stone Like God.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Delta's guys. So like
Delta.
we had more friends coming. This is tie back this around to Ashes, but also in with the old. We started to get our friends from Kona that were coming visiting. They're like, oh, Pepper Phase 2, you guys are still doing it? Let's go.
Yeah.
Record deals, let's go. We were throwing house parties with green bottles and all
Yep.
that stuff in California now.
Yeah,
We were
yeah.
We brought Kona Town to California.
We had Poofs, we had Nick, we had Kind of
Everybody,
Powell,
blah.
we
Yeah.
had Blah, Corey Murphy.
Corey,
Yep.
yes.
Goes on and on and
We were
on.
a bit of a beacon. At
We
that
were a
point.
bit of a beat.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Good
Yes.
one.
So we were raging and having that and bringing them on and showing them some new stuff. They were showing us some mainland shit.
Yeah.
And you're so right. But that garage got used a lot. We had friends come over. You guys were doing, you and Dub were doing.
Oh my
like,
gosh, on the
yeah.
four
you guys
track,
were
the
doing-
task cam.
You guys were
Yeah.
doing
Yeah,
some
bruh.
crazy stuff.
Oh
you know,
my gosh.
Experimenting. So
Yep.
Todd was one of the ones with the drummer on that was like like not trying to do, but I was like, I want to do something. And he was so like, I learned that bass thing I would have never done before, like playing with different people.
Yeah,
Obviously,
yeah.
Josh was around more. He was coming over jamming.
Yeah, totally.
We were just jamming. We were
Yeah.
like, me and Dub too for a while.
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
just jamming. Like just experimenting socially, emotionally, and getting there and writing it. And you're so right about it. But those woes came all the way back from not where you think, believe it or not. It's from a Wayne Wonder song called No Letting Go.
Yep.
Which isn't like so like not, but even though that song totally, but those.
And again, you probably found this through Don Wesley, right?
If you weren't hearing all that reggae, so it's so funny.
Exactly.
You get the Police, but Wayne Wonder would have never end up. And it was it wasn't not what he's singing, but there was something in the rhythm, and that's where those woes came from, and maybe why Saint was like, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah.
So in theory,
biggest ball drop I think of that recording, of the whole album recording.
In theory, we didn't fight for our right hard enough to party.
Yeah, we should have definitely fought. We should have really fought harder than that. Yeah.
But
Because I believe, and here's the funny thing: "Ashes" was the song that was the lead horse. Off of it.
Because like we were talking about in the last episode, it was being played in Arizona,
Colorado, maybe parts of Florida as well.
Like an organic kind of takeoff. So there was something, and I remember too, going back to Saint Germain, but also Ronnie King, because he came and played.
Oh yeah,
he's on that
everything.
And he comes to the studio, and we're playing the tracks, and he's like kind of listening, he goes whatever, and he goes, "Oh!" As soon as that one came on, after he goes, "Oh, we got a pop tune." Oh, and maybe that's why Saint Germain was more defensive of that one. Like, keep this, it's a lot going on. A lot of ins, a lot of outs.
Whatever it was, it's still horrible because and like you just like think of like, okay, let's go back to the Police. You think of like Walking on the Moon. Okay, there's like in almost every Police song, early Police, there's a whoa, there's a whoa, there's a ha, there's a something going on.
Yeah.
But anyway, the song did really, really good, and to this day, I mean, when we play that live, now we open with whoa, whoa, whoa,
yes,
and then the crowd takes over, and then we go.
And every time you hear a whoa, 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 Saint Germain gets his wings. Somewhere he had Poor Bastard has to eat that, and we're teasing you, Ron. We love you.